Hi everyone, it's Laura Volpes for Studio Katia, and in today's video I'm going to share with you how to create a simple and cute winter slimline card using the Happy Snowman stamp set. For my card base I used the Dotted Slimline set to dies by Studio Katia, and as I said, the main stamp set for today will be the Happy Snowman stamp set. I used a different set for the sentiment, and everything is listed and linked in the description box down below if you're interested. I went ahead and did some die cutting off camera to create the two main panels for my slimline card. I die cut the front panel out of white cardstock and the base is some light blue cardstock, and then I went ahead and started doing my stamping. I stamped a bunch of the trees in the Happy Snowman stamp set, and I'm using Key Lime ink by Pink Fresh Studio. This is a nice and bright green, and I am going to stamp 4 trees. To make the stamping a little bit faster, I am turning my cardstock around so that I can stamp 2 trees before I have to go ahead and actually move my stamp. I also used an acetate sheet to protect the paper while I was repositioning my stamp so that I didn't have to clean that, and also this way I am protecting the paper from accidental staining, and then I can go ahead and stamp the rest of the trees. I set that aside and then I started to work on my snowman. I have some stamping paper here by Spectrum Noir, and I'm stamping the images with alcohol-proof flagstone ink, also by Spectrum Noir. This is a very dark gray ink that pretty much looks like black, so it doesn't really make a lot of difference if you use that or black ink. And then I'm going to do some coloring with my Illustrator alcohol markers. The coloring was actually pretty quick. In order to color white, you just basically have to add a few shadows, and here I am using a light blue marker, which is the TB1 marker. I am adding that to the sides of the snowman, and everywhere I think there will be a cast shadow. So for example, under the noses, or if there are some buttons, under the buttons and the scarf here on this third snowman. You could also use a light gray if you wanted, or a light teal blue, but in this case I went for more of a pure blue shade because I wanted it to match with the card base that I die cut out of some light blue cardstock. In order to make the transition towards white a little bit smoother, I'm going to blend everything out with a colorless blender, and then I'm going to use some oranges to color in the carrot noses. I used 3 markers here, but honestly you could very well get away with only 2 because the areas are rather small. And then for the rest of the color palette I am going to use some pinks and some purples. Obviously some browns for the stick arms, and I'm using the precision tip on the Illustrator markers to go in those tiny little areas so that I don't go outside the lines. For the top hat I used some very dark cool grays, so I started with IG9 and then I blended that out with IG7 and then IG5. For my purples I'm using markers in the LV family, so these are kind of lavender colors and I think they're really pretty. And then to brighten everything up I'm throwing in a little bit of pink with my MG5, MG3 and MG1 markers. As you can see, the coloring is very easy and very quick, and I think the color palette is very fun too. At this point I have to apologize because my camera decided to stop recording, but all I did was to die cut out the images and stamp my sentiment with the Poinsettia border stamp set by Studio Katia. I used black and pink inks to make the sentiment a little bit more fun, and here I am creating a little cluster with my snowman and 3 of the trees that I had stamped and die cut to create my focal point on the slimline card. I had to add a few details with a white gel pen, and then I'm also going in with a black glaze pen to emphasize the eyes of the snowman a little bit. I am adding some dots of different sizes here on the scarf, and I added some lines on the hat, and then I decided to embellish the card a little bit further by gluing down some iridescent snowflakes by Studio Katia using the embellishment wand, which is such a great tool to work with embellishments, and my Studio Katia liquid glue. I decided to fill in the card a little bit more with one more tree there on the right, and then the fun touch for this card, in my opinion, is this puffy snow. I'm using a snow marker for that, and what you do is you're going to start applying your product wherever you want snow. In this case, I wanted some under the snowman there on the left and also under the tree on the right, and I'm going to have the snow be kind of abundant under the images and sort of fade into nothingness right under the sentiment, and this is a way to help guide the eye towards the area where I have the sentiment. In order to puff up your product, you're going to then heat it up with your heat gun. And one piece of advice from me is be patient, because I was a little bit too much in a rush to get the product to puff up, and I actually burnt my paper. You can see it getting brown there on the snowman. It's not a big deal, I fixed it and you will see it in a moment how, but you know, it's better if you try and avoid that anyway. Here is how I fixed the fact that I burned the paper, and I simply took a jelly roll pen and I went over those areas, and you know, you really cannot tell that I had that little mishap. So in case that happens to you and the area is not too big, you can definitely fix it with a white jelly roll pen. And here is your card all finished up. I think it's super fun with these adorable snowmen, those sparkly snowflakes, and that puffy snow at the bottom. And that's it for today's. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got inspired to create your own winter cards with the Happy Snowman stamp set. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe to the Studio Katia channel for more inspiration and to share this video with your crafty friends. And as always, thank you all so much for stopping by and have a great day.